What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Gobbler Effect, season number 2, episode 15 here on the Virginia Tech Hockey Network, sponsored by the Beach House Bar and Grill. My name is Chris Pierce. That's head coach of the Hokies, Joey Mullen, back with you for another episode. Today, joined by a very special guest, play-by-play broadcaster for the Virginia Tech Hokies, Kyle Beene, joins the show. Kyle, welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, first time on the Gobbler Effect. I mean, you've obviously in your career been on podcast shows, hosted podcast shows. Are you excited for what we're going to do here today?
Oh yeah, I mean, love talking about the team. Just getting a little know a little bit more about the guys and everything that's going on.
Yes, for sure. So let's start like we always do. We wait to get to the week ahead. Let's start first with how last weekend went against UNC. It was supposed to be a three-game series in a row between you guys, but obviously the game on Friday was canceled due to conditions, hopefully made up in a later date. But a game on Saturday was played between you guys at the Lancerlot Sports Complex. You guys came out on top 4-2. There, Kyle, you were there. Coach, I'm gonna start with you. What did you see from your guys on Saturday?
I thought we were all right. I didn't think it was our best game. First period was pretty back and forth, and we got a nice late goal, give us a little momentum. The start of the second, we really took control of the game, jumping out with three goals there. Kind of gave a little momentum back on a power play. They scored one late. And then the third period, it's kind of back and forth. I mean, we held them to under like 10 shots in the third. They got one kind of early into the set or the third to make it 4-2, kind of made it interesting. But I thought it was a good game for us. We haven't had a lot of closer games this year, so I thought it was really good to kind of play through that adversity and not just like run a team out of the building every night. Like we're getting to the games now where they're not going to be blowouts every night. So we got to be ready and win games in different ways.
Yeah, you guys, when it was even strength, you guys outscored them 4-0, but you did give up those two goals on the man disadvantage. What was your plan going in on the special teams, and how do you think that operated that night?
I mean, they definitely were better than the week before. They got some practice time, so they cleaned some stuff up. I thought they had a good plan against us when we were on a power play. They held us to nothing, which doesn't happen very often. So they had a good plan. We didn't adjust well enough during the game. As far as their power play goal, the first one, we got a little running around. It was a good shot. Talked to Tucker about it. He said he kind of got bumped a little bit in front. So it's one of those things that's going to happen. He got a piece of it. He'll tell you he wanted that one back. Second one was just bad communication. We went back and watched that one. I talked to the guys that were out there. A little miscommunication. I think we probably could have had that one. We left the guy standing wide open in the middle. You can't really do that. What are you going to do? It's a learning experience. There's a lot of young guys on the ice sometimes, so it's good for them to go through this stuff.
Yeah, you guys, the season against the Tar Heels in both games played, you guys beat them. That didn't happen in years prior. You guys were coming in losers of three in a row against the Tar Heels. What made that switch flip between last year and this year? And what does that say to your team and how much improved they've been over that course?
You could probably go back and look at like 90% of the team schedules this year and previous years, and they have situations like that. Like we got blessed with a really good freshman class this year to go with the upperclassmen we already had and just make us a little deeper, a little stronger, especially on the back end. JH, Max, Rice have come in and played huge minutes, and they're just really good hockey players. Like you don't have to say a whole lot to them. And then like guys like Stewart, Austin Hearn, those guys have come in and settled down and kind of put guys in the right spot in our lineup, and it's made life easier. So that's probably the biggest thing. And then Tucker coming in and helping push Shane and Ian, it just makes everybody better.
Yeah, well, that's how you've seen the game from, behind the bench. But let's kind of take the view up a little bit to the broadcast deck. Kyle, you were there actually you were there for Charlotte and you were there on Saturday up in the broadcast booth. What did you see from the Hokies in those two games played?
So, I mean, with the Charlotte game, that was just sheer dominance. It honestly didn't seem like much of a game from ice level, for me at least. Just clearly looked much more polished out there. UNC, they were slipping and sliding. It didn't really seem like They had the game plan going into it. Didn't seem like, you know, they were really put in a position to win, having not practiced in like a month. That's not exactly ideal for probably your biggest game of the season outside of the playoffs. So, definitely a big contrast between that game and the other game against UNC. I mean, over the weekend, they clearly looked much better. In the goal, it was night and day between the two games. I mean, just being able to hold up against Tech's offense a little bit. Still weren't able to get the dub for UNC, but you could tell there was a very clear difference. A lot tougher for the Hokies, and just like Coach said, I think that might be good for them in the long run. Haven't really seen much adversity for most of the season, kind of just running over teams, really, not having to think about it, not having to do anything all that crazy, and putting up, 7, 8, 10 goals against, teams all around the East Coast. So, having that tough game, especially as you get into, the last few of the season, it's nice to, feel like you're polished up, you're ready for, the more premier opponents.
I mean, this is your first season. I mean, broadcasting hockey, covering hockey for Virginia Tech, especially. I mean, just looking back from how the seasons first started to now, I mean, is this what you expected from this team? I mean, obviously, you really didn't know that much coming in, but is this what you expected? And what have you taken so far from, watching this team week in and week out?
So I expected this team to be good from what I'd heard and from just what I knew about the group so far, but I don't think at any level you can really expect a team to play like this for the whole season. You don't see groups score like the Hokies have scored really at all. It's pretty outstanding to see, and to see them do it day in and day out. There's really very few games where heading into it, I think Virginia Tech has a good shot at losing a game, and there's even fewer shots that I feel like the Hokies really just aren't going to be there. They're not going to fight out through the end. I go into pretty much every game expecting probably a 3-goal win because they just score that well and the defense is ridiculous. And with the depth of the group, it's incredible. I mean, you've got freshmen across the board that are really stand out. You've got the experienced guys who've been phenomenal. In the goal, Key and Tucker both have been great. And just being able to see so many guys switch around and really not noticing any drop off in talent at all, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's your first season. I mean, it's probably a lot of people who's watching this team for the first time, seeing how this team gels and how they've been playing like this all season. Though, Kyle, you'll be here for another season, sticking around as I'm going to transition over to you, the new broadcast director of operations. Congratulations, Kyle. So, just to get you a little prepped on what to expect, I'm going to let you take it away from here.
So, Coach, we talked about the young guys a little bit, and I know that's kind of been a big point this season is how great they've been. Do you feel like there's any guys that have really stood out to you that maybe don't jump out as much on the box score, perhaps, who've just been playing really well?
I think there's two that you would look at, and what I'm going to say, this, like, man, they haven't. I think they have like 11 points combined, maybe, and they're both defensemen. And I want to say it's Kevin McAfee and Teo Lanigan. Both of their roles have changed tremendously this year, especially probably Teo's more than anything. He was one of our go-to guys. Need you to score from the back end, one of those guys, and he had to change his game completely with JH, Max, and Kevin and Rice coming in here because, I mean, those three guys combined, I want to say, have like 60 points from being defensemen. So Teo's taken on more of like a leadership role and a mentor role, and like, I'm going to stay at home and make sure I'm the play it safe guy. And Kevin's been the same way. Like, we asked Kevin to do a lot. His first couple of years here, he played a lot of minutes, and then it actually has turned into like a match made in heaven with him and JH. Like he gives JH the confidence and the freedom to just run, and that's what makes it opens up so much time and space for everybody. And Kevin, this has probably Kevin's best year he's ever played here.
Mm. And I want to go back to the Charlotte game for just a minute. So, playing outside first time in program history, how special was that for you and the team just to experience that?
I mean, it's awesome. Like just the atmosphere and everything that went on there. Like, I mean, it's pretty cool when you hear like when you bring jerseys down there sell and they sell it in 20 minutes. Like, it just shows you how far we've come as a program. We're working on trying to get another one for next year since we had so much fun doing it. So that's in the works. So hopefully we can get that put together. And for the guys, like not everybody gets to play outside. Like a lot of the Virginia guys don't grow up playing outside. Like your North Carolina guys, like Max, I think has played at that rink a couple of times with his former team, but most of the guys don't get to do it. So it's kind of cool. It's a different environment. The weirdest thing there was like for as many people were there, you could barely hear the crowd most of the game. It was really quiet in the ice. And then like when they were warming up before staying outside, you couldn't even hear the puck like hit the post, hit the glass. It was a weird and different environment.
hmm So, you talked about the jerseys too, which you mentioned sold out extremely fast. I think we expected a lot of them to sell, but not like,
Yeah. And
gates
there's
open.
probably I mean people are like begging for those things. So it's been pretty cool.
So what's your favorite jersey that the Hokies have worn now that we've shown off the special outdoor jerseys? Does that change it at all?
I still think my favorite is the gray one.
Okay.
And probably the black one is a close second. I like different jerseys. I like the custom stuff. There may be more in the works. You never know. Like we like to have fun with it.
All right. Well, a little shameless plug there. Just maybe some new jerseys coming. Who knows? I'm excited to
Maybe
see what
we'll
they
see.
could bring.
See what we can do.
Let's see. Okay, so 5 games left in the regular season right now. Is there anything that the team is looking to focus on, looking to improve, get polished up right before starting the playoffs off?
I think tightening up maybe a little in the D zone. Um, Definitely in the face-off circle, we got to tighten some of that stuff up. That's what we've been working on. And we've been continuously working on finishing plays, scoring goals. Like a lot of our stuff in practice is revolved around putting the puck in the net. The goalies hate it, but when you're confident and you're scoring can be contagious. So I mean, if you look, we got I want to say it's close to like 15 players already with double-digit points, and if a couple guys have good weekends this weekend, we could probably have almost 8 or 9 guys with 20 or more points this year.
Yeah, pretty impressive numbers all around from the group, I'd say.
We do have a record we're potentially breaking this weekend. I think
Oh,
Cam Kazai is 6 points from 100, and he will be the fastest player in history at Tech to do it, like by a long shot. Like Doozy was quick at like I want to say he was like 62 games, and Cam's like in the 40s.
yeah, that sounds about right from the stats I've read. It's crazy how good the some of these young guys have been and just how well they've sustained that.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, Cam's been fun to watch. Like he came right in, and it was like basically like watching Doozy all over again when he came in with Macero and Miles. Fit right in with those guys. Won Rookie of the Year. And 2 years later, Cam rolls in here and put him right with Doozy, and he wins Rookie of the Year. I mean, it's kind of hard not to, I guess, with some of that. And like a guy like Ethan Garlock, like came out of nowhere this year. Didn't play a whole lot the first few games. There was an injury, and we happened to be going to Jersey, so I was like, we'll give him a shot on this line. He scores 9 points in a weekend, so kind of played his way right back on that thing.
Yeah, and talking about rookie of the year, it seems like there's a couple of guys who could be right up there in the mix with the group. You think the Hokies are taking it home this year again?
Be back to back if they do.
If I had to say so, I'd probably say probably not this year. The kid from NC State has put together a really good year, Prasma. I want to say he's
Hmm.
right under 40 points this year. I mean, JH could definitely be in the running. He's got 30 plus points as a defenseman. I think a guy like Tucker could be in the running. He's 8-0 as a freshman goalie. If he gets a few more games this year, he could potentially be 10-0 as a freshman. Like that's pretty wild. I think we definitely we look potentially good for. I mean, JH could be defenseman of the year also, the 35, 40 point defenseman as a freshman. I think Doozy's in a good spot for maybe forward of the year with the season he's put together, 62 points already.
Good spot.
He's
A good spot's a very generous term.
yeah, I mean he's probably pushing close to getting 200 already. So he's had quite a run this year. I think he's scored in every single game this year.
I think that's right. I mean, I haven't really
Might
looked
be,
at it.
yeah.
I think he scored in
I
every game.
I believe it. If you
And I
told me
think
that, I'd believe it.
Cam has scored in every one except for one. I think.
I'd believe that.
Man. Yeah, quite the group, I'd say.
It's been fun. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, and you got these guys back again next year too.
Yeah, that's the I guess scary and fun thing for me is like that whole. I think we graduate like five, six guys. That's it.
Wow.
The whole top, basically my top three lines minus one of them are back. So
Man, that is crazy.
yeah, I mean, it's good and it's bad because then next year we're gonna have a probably pretty big class we're gonna have to replace.
Yeah.
So we got to bring in five or six guys, probably maybe a few more. It just depends on who gets in, who doesn't. I mean, we're starting to see guys trickle in now. Like we've got one kid coming in out of Boston for next year already. It'll be a good two-way center for us. Working on some kids out of Team Maryland where Cam and Rice have come from. They've applied. We're just waiting to hear back. So I mean, it's one of those things. It's kind of luck of the draw. I mean, we don't have any pull with admissions, so I can't be like I need these five guys in. It would be nice. I wish I could. Just five. Just give me five. That's it.
That'd be pretty cool, yeah. So Chris, you only got a few more games left this year.
Mhm.
Talk to me about how that's going for you. Like, what are you looking forward to, seeing the playoffs this season?
It's nice actually being asked questions on the show. It feels nice being the other way around. But no, I honestly, it's my third year. I mean, this is probably the best year of Virginia Tech hockey. I mean, for obvious reasons, since I've been here. I mean, it's just been historic all the way through. No matter how you put it, you talk about team wise, individual wise, even staff wise. I mean everywhere you look, it's just history being made every single night. And like Coach mentioned, like we have a chance to make history a few more times this weekend with you got Cam, but if you look at like another like league level, we can clinch the ACCHL South Division with a sweep against UNCW this weekend. So I mean, that's just even more history being made. And then who knows how far it will go. We can go past the playoffs into regionals, who knows, maybe nationals. I mean, this team is built for a run like that. And like it didn't come like we've talked about this, me and Coach have been talking this for a couple of us. So I mean, for him, it didn't come out of nowhere. I mean, the guys on this team know what's being asked for them. And I think it's really translating to the success that you see on the ice every single night. I mean, the guys, the chemistry is just there. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch every single night. And like from my standpoint, I wasn't really much of a go-to hockey fan. It wasn't really a top two, top three sport for me coming to Tech, but ever since coming to a games broadcasting, it's been an enjoyment to watch, and it's certainly been my favorite sport. I think during my time here at Tech, certainly to watch and call and be able to be part of, just being able to see this team grow. It's just incredible.
Are there any games that have really like stood out to you as like those memorable games where you think back and you're like, yeah, like that was the game I remember. That was the one that really did it for me.
Yeah, it has to be the North Carolina State victory last season in overtime. Gavin Faduzzi beats, 3-on-3, beats the defenders, beats the goalie, gets the win for Hokies' first win over the Ice Pack in over 7 years at home. I think it was the second to last home game of the season. But I mean, that meant so much to the program. And to me, especially, that goal call is probably one of the best goal calls I've ever had. And I mean, it just couldn't come at a better opportune time against a better opportune opponent. I mean, everything was just so perfectly aligned. It was probably the best moment, in my opinion, the best moment in Virginia Tech history.
Yeah. Well, Chris, you want to take us into this next weekend coming up?
Yeah, no, for sure. So as we mentioned, you play the Seahawks this weekend. Haven't faced them in quite a while. Last played them almost a year and a half ago when you split the series down in Wilmington. Obviously, it's been a while. What are you planning to see out of your guys this weekend as you go, for history and perhaps, clinching that ACCHL South Division title?
I mean, they're going to be a scrappy little team. They usually are. They're well coached. I know Rich pretty well. He's a good guy. He'll have them ready. I mean, they're fighting for playoff positioning too. I mean, all these teams down the stretch, like a win can go a long way in the draw you get and make your draw a little easier, a little tougher. So they're going to come up. They're going to be ready. They played some big time opponents tough. Like they split with UNC. They split with Louisville. They played state kind of tough. So it's one of those games that you don't take lightly. You take them seriously, and you got to show up ready to play if you want to really win the game.
Yeah, you guys have to win out in regulation all remainder of your league games this season to have a chance to get that first seed in the playoffs. Is there a message that you're going to be telling your guys in the locker room this weekend, prepare themselves and get their head in the game to, achieve that goal and to not let that slip away from them?
I think we've already started talking about that when we came back in January. One game at a time. That's how we've approached this whole season. Even one period at a time. Let's win every period, and you win every game. So at this point in the year, wins are wins. It doesn't matter how the score, whatever. You just got to start stacking them up big time now, especially with only a handful of rankings left. So the more games we can play and the more games we can win, the better off we'll be going into postseason.
Yeah. Well, last question regarding the weekend in whole. What do the Virginia Tech Hokies need to do to continue their hot streak momentum? They've won six in a row. What do they need to do to not only continue the momentum heading into, the rest of the month, but heading into the rest of the season?
I think a big thing for us, and we've done a pretty good job, is just staying out of the box. The more we play 5-on-5, I think the more difficult we are to play against. We're a pretty deep roster. Every kid can skate up and down the lineup, so we tend to wear teams down overall in a game. And 5-on-5, we've been really good this year, so we haven't had a problem of scoring there. So if we can beat a team 5-on-5 and then wear them down towards the third, and they start taking penalties, that's when our power play tends to take over and put teams away.
Okay, well, I understand that you have some questions for us that you want to ask. So,
I have a couple. You guys always ask me the questions, so it's my turn. And this one's for both of you.
where's yours?
Chris, you can go first. What has been your favorite memory from this season?
Oh, this season.
This season.
Oh, I mean, is it too obvious to say the Charlotte game? I mean, being able to broadcast on ESPN is obviously a dream come true. But the cherry on top is seeing you guys go out there and just completely dominate the Tar Heels 6-0. I mean, obviously I can't show bias during the broadcast. But it was kind of one of the requirements. But down inside when you guys scored, I was like, yes. It was a special weekend in whole,
Yeah.
getting there, staying with the guys, had a little lunch at the hotel, getting to interview Pop Watson and Brody Meadows, uh, you know, riding the bus, getting to the stadium, entering the stadium, the whole atmosphere itself. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity that you get to only experience once, maybe if you're lucky a couple times. But I mean, I was able to soak it in, be on ESPN, live out my dream, and have a really successful weekend in Charlotte. So that's probably my most memorable moment.
All right, Kyle, what about you?
I, it's kind of cheap, but I'm gonna follow Chris with that one. It really is an unforgettable game, and I'll go a little bit further and I'll specify a moment, and that's like when I walked out of the tunnel and I got set up with my camera and then I saw the team come out. That's always like a special moment for me when I'm working games, no matter, what sport it is. Just when you get to walk out there on the floor, on the ice, and just kind of be there and look up into the stadium, that's always something that stands out to me.
All right, so one more for each of you. We'll go Kyle first. What are you most looking forward to going into next year? I know it's looking ahead a little bit, but you taking over, what are you looking forward to the most?
I think what I'm looking forward to the most, it's tough. There's two things. So
Okay.
first thing would just be seeing how this team, with how good they've been, how they potentially, take it up a notch next year with, an additional year of experience, a bunch more games under their belt. How do they, if they do, take it to the next level? And the second thing I think is sort of along the same lines, but how do we take where the broadcast is and where Chris has gotten the broadcast to and made so many improvements to it and just gotten us to such a great spot, and how can I try and elevate that just a little bit too?
Perfect. All right, Chris, don't cry on this one, okay?
That's good.
What are you gonna miss the most after leaving this year?
Can I say all of it?
It's your question, man.
I, I don't know. I think I've dedicated so much time to, helping you guys out over the past 3 seasons that there's not really one thing that I'll miss the most. I mean, obviously going to the games, talking to the guys, being able to, help out in any way I can. I mean, it's obviously grown on me as an individual, with my experience and all of this, but I mean, I'm gonna miss it all. There's just not one thing I'm gonna miss, and when it's all said and done, I'm gonna always look back on this as one of the best times of my life. I mean, they say college is the best time of your life, but like working for Virginia Tech hockey is like right up there as well. It enhanced this experience. So I mean, if you talk about the players, the coaches, I mean, my staff, last year we had 3 people, now we have 10, and it's going to just keep on growing and growing, knowing that like I kind of started that, I left my legacy on there. So, if you want to talk about leaving a legacy, you can talk about that. But it was just a great time with Virginia Tech hockey. And I really don't want it to end anytime soon, but, that day eventually is going to have to come, and I'm just going to have to, sit in a corner and cry.
Yeah, I tell myself that every year, but it never ends.
Yeah. Well, on that sad note, I'll do it for episode number 15 of the Gobbler Effect, sponsored by the Beach House Bar and Grill here on the Virginia Tech Network. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe here on the channel, as well as click the notification bell for live streaming content updates this season. Kyle, Coach, thank you very much for joining us once again. The Hokies go back to the lot this weekend for a ACCHL clash between them and the UNC Wilmington Seahawks in Vinton. Puck drop is set for 7:30 p.m. on Friday, 6:30 on Saturday. You can catch both games live here on the Virginia Tech Hockey Network. Until next time, guys, go Hokies.